Hello and welcome to Cadence Connect, where I'm going to be exploring the power of consistent content creation for franchising success. I'm your host, Kevin Ayres, founder of Cadence, where we believe in the transformative power of small, consistent actions to build remarkable results. Each episode, I'm going to be talking to franchisors to understand about how they connect with their audience to build their know, like and trust journey. We'll dive into their strategies, uncover their challenges and celebrate their triumphs, all to help you create consistent, compelling content that resonates with your audience. So, if you're looking to enhance your franchise brand, attract more customers and take your business to new heights, then you're in the right place. Let's get started with today's episode. So with me today is Iain Griffiths of the Party Tent Company. So really pleased to have you on, Iain.
Yeah, no problems. Looking forward to getting down to talking about franchising. I'm really passionate about that subject, as you've probably seen.
Well, one of the reasons a key reason I invited you on is because you're one of the few people I've seen on LinkedIn in the franchising world, and as you know, I'm new to franchising, that actually use video, and obviously I'm a video guy, so I thought, it'd be great to have you on and find out how you've used that and how you're finding that and so on. But we'll dig into that in a bit. But before we get going, it'd be great to hear a little bit of your story. So why are you're running this Party Tent Company? Why are you doing that? How did you get into that? It'd be great to hear your story.
It's kind of a bit of a random story. I was working I had many jobs. I was in the Royal Navy, left, had a couple of what I call filler jobs when I got out. Not jobs that you'd make a career of, just jobs that would pay the bills. And then I ended up landing a job working for a large corporate company, which everyone will know if they've ever bought a car in the UK, called Auto Trader. So I started on So that when obviously I'd learned skills in the Royal Navy with regards to discipline and everything else that comes with that. But my career, Auto Trader, is where I really started making waves, and they allowed me to do that. They encouraged me to excel, and they never held me back or anything like that. So I started off just working on customer services. And that was just placing ads for private customers and trade customers. I think it was like a 3-month probation, and then after that, I was, I was doing little bits of sales. There was a little team of 3 of us called Advert Completion, and basically what that was when people had got an advert to the shopping basket, and they hadn't paid for it. Right. We'd ring them up and see why they hadn't done that, to try and get that revenue through the
cart abandonment.
Yeah. So it was like a cart abandonment, but it was like very, very early stages. So we'd get those lists on a spreadsheet each morning and we'd call them. Usually it would be down to cost, because eBay would let them put it on for a £5 or whatever it was, and that ad was 40, and it was like proven value, everything else. So me and one of the other lads on that team, Paul, we excelled on that, and we were headhunted for the telesales team, which was it's caused a little bit of a stir because it was on the same floor, and we were getting talked to another team. So anyway, I went over to telesales. I did account management, and I was given the whole of Scotland. Now, nothing against Scotland, but when you're selling to car dealers in Scotland, because you've got a whole country, some of the independents have only got 5-6 cars. They're in the middle of nowhere, so it was a particularly tough area to master. But I did it. I did all right on there. And then, lo and behold, about 14 months into that, I was headhunted to go onto the field sales team from telesales, which meant going out in a car. And I was only at the age of maybe 26 at this point, so I was still relatively young.
It sounds a bit of a masterclass in like the sales process, which must have set you up really well, I think.
Yeah. But the great thing about that company, so I'll just, after about a year, my manager, Jill, went off to have a baby. and she was taking an extended period of time off. So I became the acting area sales manager at the age of like 27, 28, in charge of millions of pounds worth of accounts a year. But the great thing about that business to be involved in, the products that we were selling were early stage SEO, self-managed websites with WYSIWYG editors, things like that.
Yeah.
Social media, teaching them how to put, it was very, very early stages, but how to upload the 20 images and make them into a slideshow video to showcase that car. They've got much more advanced tools, but it was all marketing experience. So
Right.
yeah, that was the job where I was really sort of allowed to excel and encouraged to do so as well. And I was rewarded very, very well as well. Very good wages, nice company car, good incentives each month and stuff like that. What happened with Auto Trader was I became an acting area sales manager, and I think my manager came back then, and I was just back on the road, and they started making I think there was 8 areas within the UK, the country split up, and they were diluting that down to 6, therefore getting rid of some reps and stuff like that. But rewind maybe 9 or 12 months before this, I'd decided to hire a marquee, and I couldn't get I was getting priced out of the market. Like, some marquees are very, very expensive in a sense that if you want a garden party, you're not going to pay $3,000 for it, are you? $4,000. You just want a solution in your garden.
I guess it depends on your garden. But yeah, most people.
And also your budget as well, and so I'd seen a little bit of a gap in the market. I was like, hang on a minute, I didn't get a marquee in the end because it was just far too expensive. I was getting sort of quoted for crystal chandeliers and all that sort of stuff that I don't need for a birthday party. So didn't really do anything straight away. And then I was like, do you know what? I fancy having a go at that. So I did a bit of market research myself, because I'm used to doing that for finding new clients for my Auto Trader area. If any new car dealers pop up, we'd go round and stuff like that. So did a load of market research, ringing some companies up, making some email addresses up, sending off a quote and this, that and the other. Got all the information, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to do this properly if I'm going to do it. So I decided to write a business plan, and I recruited a lady called Gillian Hunt. She's actually works in business in John Moores University in Liverpool, but as a side business, she helped startups do business plans, and she's a very, very lovely lady. And funny story, really. So when I first got in touch with her, she said, right, okay, we can do it 2 ways. We can either rent an office for an hour a week. That'll be a bit more expensive. And I was like, well, what's the other one? She went, well, we'll go and sit in the Philharmonic pub. I don't know if you've ever seen the Philharmonic pub in Liverpool, but it's a very, very oldie worldy pub. So we sat in the corner drinking Cokes each week and eating crisps, writing this business plan. And then after 6 months of doing that, so I started doing that weekly. And then she'd send me off doing bigger tasks fortnightly and then monthly towards the end. After 6 months, we collated it all into a piece of software that she had. She printed it out, sent it over, and she said, well, if having done this project with you, I think that you should go for this. I think it's going to work, but I would advise you to do it part-time. So that's what I did. Started doing it part-time in the evenings, weekends, stuff like that. And then it got to the point where I was just turning work away constantly.
You've got to do one or the other, right?
Yeah, and then I'm a big believer in fate as well, Kevin. So what happened then was Auto Trader started making these areas smaller, and they offered redundancy to a few people. Now, I could have gone up for my job against some of my friends, and I was hitting my targets anyway, so the likelihood is I probably would have got an area. But it was like that balance, as you've just explained. Is it, do I take the jump now, or do I never take the jump? So that's what I did. took the redundancy and moved out of my garden shed onto my auntie's livery yard. Didn't pay any rent, just had to muck the horses out and stuff like that. So that's
Right.
And then eventually at late 2013, so I'd been going about 2 years, maybe 18 months now. My auntie was like, "You need to get all this stuff off here. There's too much now." And she was a business owner herself anyway, so she helped me find the unit that I'm sat in now. I'm in here now, 10 years later, in the same business premises. Yeah, so that sounds kind of the story of how it all started. Yeah,
Brilliant. It sounds like you did it really thoroughly, which must give you confidence. You've got an external validation of your idea. You've done it properly. You've done your research. It's not just like, I see a lot of people doing sort of like, and there's nothing wrong with that per se, but like they're making cupcakes and they don't really understand their numbers and they're just sort of bumbling into doing something rather than really properly doing their research.
I mean, I think as well, like, I was pretty lucky as well in a sense that the business that I started and the brand that I started, people took to it straight away and it took off. I mean, I know people who have started maybe 2 or 3 businesses before the one that one of them actually takes off and it's successful. Do you know what I mean? So there's been a little bit of luck involved, and like you've just alluded to, there's no real right or wrong way, but there's nothing.
But you've tried to, kudos to you though. You've tried to minimize that by doing your research. Like, it seems like there's a good thing here. I will find out. So I think that's really good. You've done your research.
Yeah, but I mean, like the analogy that you use with the people with the cupcakes, all the best to them if they do something and it takes off. Like, I sit and sort of applaud those guys because they're probably working in a job and they're doing something to get a little bit of extra money to get by, and then it takes off. And when I see a success story like that, there's nothing that gives me more of a smile in my face.
I totally agree. I don't mean, I'm not trying to knock people. I'm just saying that.
No. But
you've done the right way round. People tend to kind of learn the hard way.
Sometimes you fall into it, argue. Yeah. So yeah.
And I guess it was interesting that you come from the Navy as well. I often wonder whether a stint in the Army or the Navy or something would have helped me. That discipline and that rigor and and not being afraid of hard work. Doing that sales job, they're hard, aren't they?
Yeah, they are, but I think as well, like, I always knew that I wanted to do something for myself, and when I was in the Navy, it dependent on what ship. I was on an aircraft carrier at first, my first draft, and that was a lovely, lovely ship's company. Everyone was fine. We were going on nice runs ashore. Unfortunately, that ship got decommissioned, and then I got landed on HMS Liverpool, which was a completely toxic ship's company, and there was no real chance of progression. So, like, I was still at a young age and I was like, you know what, I've experienced this. I've seen a lot of the world I've done relief work in Sierra Leone and Ghana and, I've been to the Antarctic and Rio de Janeiro and carnival time. I'm still a young man. I can go and I can go and chase my dreams. Not that they'll tell you that in the careers office when you're trying to leave there because they're trying to claw you back in. Yeah. So yeah, but you're absolutely right. The skills that you learn in the armed forces are the good. To be well presented. Even the guy, I had a young lad who was working with me, and he got an apprenticeship in the end. He was actually my wife's cousin. Yeah, so he came working with me for a summer, and he was like, "I just want to work with you." And he ended up getting an apprenticeship as a transport manager. Eventually, he would be for a big haulage company. I was like, "Mate, leave me and go and do that." But I said to him, right, one condition, you make sure you dress smart every day. And then I seen his mum maybe 6 months later, and she was like, Jack's always polishing his boots every night after work. And I was like, that thing's up with him, do you know what I mean? Good lad, yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant. So look, it's great that you're, okay, so the party tent company's taking off. So at what point did you discover the idea of franchising, and what made you go down that route to turn it into a franchise?
Well, I tried another avenue at first. So I went to China and imported marquees in order to sell them as like a sidearm of, so I'd have an online shop. because I was getting inquiries from all over the place, like people ringing me from Edinburgh, Swansea, London, Bournemouth, wherever, all over the place, Belfast. Can you come and put a marquee up next Saturday? And I'm like, not really, because it's too far. So I toyed with the idea. Well, I didn't toy with it. I followed it through. So I went to China twice, imported a load of marquees, and I already knew about franchising, so it was either or what I was going to do. Right. So I tried buying marquees. So I got those. I got them all imported. They were on pallets in I was just renting pallet space in Widnes, which is not too far away from here, really. I actually met him. He was a hire customer and he had spare warehouse space. And then the pandemic hit. So I had all those marquees stored in that warehouse, and obviously people needed temporary structures, so they sold straight away.
But that's real downer, but actually, it was amazing. It must have been amazing for you.
Yeah, it was like to be fair, like it was lucky because if I didn't have that stock to make that money from, I reckon I would have struggled. I would have really struggled. So it was again just a bit of luck. But I'd already sort of started toying with the idea of franchising as well, then, because once I'd imported those marquees from China, and the pandemic hit and stuff like that. Getting into China now, you can't get in there. The factories down and lots of stuff. So trying to, unless you're spending a huge chunk of money, and you're not just spending at the time, I think I was only spending like 60 grand at a time. Now that sounds like a lot of money, but if in the grand scheme of things, if somebody else is spending 4 million quid, you're going to get lashed to the back of the queue. And that's how China works. And they'll tell you a whole load of great stuff until you transfer that money, and then it'll get held back and held back and held back. So I decided to just change tact, go down the franchising route, which I did. Wrote all my, I had a couple of advisors to start off with. I've got a great consultant now called Richard Bakey. I don't know whether you know who he is.
I know Richard. Well, he's somebody I've met, him and Andy Cheetham. So Andy Cheetham and I've been talking for quite a while, and Richard and I had a couple of conversations. I finally met him at the International Franchise Show.
Yeah, Richard would be a great guest for you. Me and Richard are friends, just away from franchising. I consider him a friend. I've worked with him for a couple of years now. But what he doesn't know about franchising just isn't worth knowing. I'm actually on a Zoom with him at 2:00 to onboard a new franchisee, hopefully. But he'd be a great guest for your podcast, Kevin. What you've got to watch out if there's one message that I can give to people when they're franchising the business is, don't believe what comes out of everyone's mouths, because, as we all know, people tell lies all the time. Do your due diligence. Ask other franchisors who they've used in the past. There's a lot of people out there who are willing to take your money and they've got no experience in what they're doing. And I found that out the hard way. Luckily, it was nipped in the bud pretty quickly. I had a realization pretty quickly, and now I'm with Lime and I'm completely happy. But so that's what happened. That's how I became, got into franchising. That's how it became. Brilliant. Because I was getting inquiries.
Well, and like you say, just to have stock at a point where no one can get stock and everyone needs it. But that must have been just a fantastic, oh my goodness, it's it's an awful situation, but cool for you.
Well, I was having plenty of arguments with the TNT driver on a daily basis of whether they were essential items or not, but
right.
Yeah, he didn't like it because they were very heavy and
yeah, I bet. Yeah. So look, we said earlier on, you are so one of the franchisors I've come across who is uses video a lot more than most people. So it'd be great to dig into that. Obviously, I'm this video, and so how do you?
Yep.
How important do you see content marketing and particularly video content? How important is that to you, and How do you go about that?
Well, when I first started, I was just a complete novice. I didn't know what I was doing. Didn't know, I didn't know about ideal clients or anything like that.
Right. Yeah.
Video is very, very important in a sense that the people get to know who you are already. So I get people who like sort of ring me up and they'll be like, they'll talk to me as if they already know me, and which is what you want. You want people to be comfortable around you. We'll go on Zoom calls, Richard and I, and Richard will be like, this guy's been watching you for ages. Do you know what I mean? You all he talks about is you. Do you know what I mean? And like how good you are at what you're doing. And you're like, hang on a minute, like I'm just sort of some average guy who's just having a crack. You know what I mean? But so video, very, very important. I've got a back catalogue of videos that we made during the pandemic. It was actually with Iain Productions, which is Iain and Mike. They're based in Warrington up here. So we made some evergreen content, which means that it will never go out of fashion. You can clip it up, nothing in there that's got reference to anything of the time. So we don't mention the pandemic or anything like that in any of the videos. It's just videos that can keep being repurposed time and time and time again on whichever platform you want. So I've got a selection of those, maybe about 10 or 12 as a baseline. And then I do off-the-cuff videos. So I'll just, like yesterday, something really funny happened to me. I just got a phone out, did a little minute and a half, asked a question, threw a bit of text on. Took me about 3 minutes all in all just to make a post. And then I posted that off and it did pretty well. I think with videos as well, with the video, what you don't want to be doing is just ramming your product down someone's throat constantly, because that's not what content marketing about. Content marketing is asking questions about things that have happened to you, how people would react to certain things, have a personality, and just get your personality out there, whether that's in written form or video for that matter.
And your potential franchisee felt like they knew you, and I think we were having a little bit of a chat before we started this, that's a great way of qualifying people, because ultimately, like, not everyone will like you. Some people will go, well, I don't really relate to this guy. You'd rather find that out, or frankly, you'd rather never talk to that person, because if they're not going to get on with you, then there's no point talking, is there? And we can't, you can't please all the people all the time, can you?
But that's absolutely fine, isn't it? I don't like everyone myself. That's what makes us great as a human race. We're all different, isn't it? But going back to the video, the video's entitled "Are You a Bit of a LinkedIn Lurker?" That's the title of the video, and it's sort of the video goes into maybe you've been watching my stuff for a while. This is how things go when you come on. This is and it goes into the whole sequence and the process of what happens from start to finish when you make the inquiry to when you actually sign up, and it sort of puts them at ease as well, because we don't hound people, we're not pushy people. Like this afternoon when we have a Zoom call, we'll say to the potential, right, we're going to send you all the information. We'll give you a few days. Let us know either way. Because if you don't want to go carry on with the process, that's absolutely fine. We know it's not for everyone. Yeah. Go and find something that you're happy, and that won't waste our time either. Then, and it's
absolutely. You'd rather not have them on the list and think, well, are they going to do something or not? Or
yeah. So the LinkedIn Lurker video went live, and then Jonathan, who runs our Milton Keynes branch, that hit him right in the face, that video. And he when he got in touch, he said it was that video that did it for me. He was like, actually, I have been lurking on this guy. I've been watching him for like over a year now. I want to do this. And within a couple of months, he was signed completely from start to finish. That's the type of that's what you want. That's what you want people to already know. You want them to be obsessed with you, and not in a stalker way, just in a way that, you know, that they already know what it's going to involve. You know, it's pointless me hiding the fact that you might have to work weekends and then them signing on the dotted line, sending me 15 grand plus that. Me sending them a load of marquees and then going, oh yeah, by the way, during the summer you're probably going to have to work some weekends. It's pointless.
What? Yeah, yeah. I like that word. Yeah. One of the courses I went on, business course I went on, guys asked in the room. It was kind of like this question in a way. It's like, what are you stalking at the moment? And they're making the point: is it a car? Is it a handbag? Is it a business? What is it? You know, usually a lot of people have got something they're kind of interested. They haven't yet decided to buy, but they're looking at the reviews or watching the videos and so on. And the point was, if you're not giving people that stuff, how can they stalk you? You're not giving them anything to kind of chew on, you know, because it takes time, doesn't it? You know, it takes a lot of trust to buy into a business.
Yeah, I think another good thing to do is, if you're doing a video, it's like, don't do sort of big 10-minute videos, keep them short and punchy. So I always like to do a video based on, say, if somebody asks me a question. Yeah, so one of the lads off LinkedIn, I won't name him, he rang me up, we're friends anyway, and he said, how do I know if my business is franchisable? So I gave him the answer there and then, because he's a friend anyway. You know, obviously, can you teach somebody who has no experience how to do that business? You know, have you got a brand? Just general pointers like that. But the next day I thought, you know what, I'm gonna do a video on that, because I've been asked a question there. So I'm gonna answer it. I mean, answering questions, because you're gonna get those again. Other people will want, if one person wants to know the answer to that, other people will want to know the answer. Like years ago, a few years back, I was talking to an SEO, a guy about SEO. Brett, he still does the SEO for all of our websites anyway. But he said, like, if you get asked a question, you should really write a blog on it and put it on your website, because that'll be a long tail search. What people search for on Google are long tail searches. So ask a question, write a blog. Ask a question, do a video. And I think that's a good way to just get ideas for content. You can sit there for ages thinking, oh, what I'm going to write a post about today, when really sometimes they're there smacking you in the face.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's really good. Sounds really good advice. The next question I wanted to ask you was, so I know you do video. I guess because I'm not looking to buy a franchise, I haven't really gone down to the next level of what your franchisees do. Do you find that your franchisees are happy to do video, and like, how do you support them? Do you let them do that? How does that?
Awful of them, yeah. Two of them are all right with it, and then a couple of them aren't. And the couple that aren't, one of them already he's still working, so he doesn't want the people who sort of, we allow our franchisees to work, and you know, we don't just say, right, that's it, you have to do this completely now. You know, people still have bills to pay. We gradually do what I did when I was an Auto Trader and get to that point where you can just so yeah. But I've got a couple, a husband and wife tag team called Becky and Matt in Birmingham. It's fantastic people, just like dream to be in sort of partnership with. And Becky is so good. She just gets on and she'll do a little off the cuff video or a story or whatever. She's very, very good at reels. So she'll so she likes that side of thing. And Matt is the more hands-on side of things. He goes out setting the marquees up and stuff like that. So yeah, they you know yourself, some people just don't feel confident enough. But you know, I think I spoke to you just before we went live that if I watch some of the videos now, I don't even think I've still got them, because I will have just deleted them in a pure cringe fest. But you know, you don't get good at video without practicing. One thing,
anything, that practice, yeah.
So well, that's it. But video is to throw a camera in your own face and talk to it. You start to stutter. Don't script anything too much. Maybe have some bullet points, but if you write a script, I've done it myself. I've sat there, wrote three pages of A4 out, and when it's come to do it, and don't use words that you're not used to using.
It's very hard. I had a customer showed up for a shoot the other day, and he'd got a script, and I gently said, "Well, we give it a try if you like," but he'd sent me the script in advance, and I turned that script into a set of questions that I could ask him that I knew would elicit the same response. Yeah. And when we did it that way, it was just better. He was so much better doing it that way.
Yeah. Scripts don't work, I don't think. I mean, unless you've got a teleprompter, but who has one of those just like lying around in the field of the card?
Two problems with scripts are, one, very few people. There's two skills involved that most people don't have, and they don't realise that. One, you've got to write how you talk, which is actually quite difficult. It's a lot harder than it sounds. The way it sounds very stilted and very formal. And then secondly, you've got to be able to read it as if you're not reading it, and that is also very difficult. And even people who read, even professionals, when they read off a teleprompter on TV, like game show hosts and newsreaders and that sort of thing, most of even those guys, and they're professionals, they get paid every day to do this. Even then, you can usually tell if you look carefully that they are reading it. They don't make it seem that natural. So there's two quite unusual skills you've got to be good at both of, and very few people are good at either of them. So I think it's much better if you ask questions. And you know that stuff, right? If the frequently asked questions or whatever, you know the answers.
That's it, yeah. And also as well, when I see people banging loads of videos out, unless they're paying somebody to do it, it makes me question, are you actually doing any sort of business or anything like that? The people who are just constantly on social media, when are they earning some money doing it? Well, so you get a load of these, you get a load of these merchants peddling all sorts of stuff who are constantly engaging and posting and everything else. Some days I don't even open any social media apps because I'm just far too busy to do that, and that's fine. But
it's like
don't script anything.
I think people who are just seem like professional networkers. They're just like at every networking event. It's like, when do you actually do any business? I can't work out how they make money.
Well, what are they called? The BN, the ones that meet at 6 o'clock in the morning in a hotel.
BNI.
Yeah, they're a bit culty, them, aren't they?
My wife actually goes to a BNI. She was at a BNI this morning, actually. But I know why you say that. So it's a bit weird. I think if it's run well, it feels quite natural. If it's somebody who's not very good at reading the script, it's like, right, let's go to the next section. And you're like, what? This is weird. It's so formal. Yeah. If you've got somebody who's quite relaxed, can make it work, then it's much less formal, and then it just becomes structured.
I think it all depends. I think it depends what industry you're in as well. Do you know what I mean? You've got to swap leads, haven't you? So, I'm not going to be able to find people for somebody who cleans ovens, and likewise, he's probably not going to be able to find me. Do you know what I mean? So when I just went there and I was like, and it was on a Friday at 6 a.m. and I was like, I have to be putting marquees up on a Friday. That's my busiest day. So but you say, networking events,
it can work well and it can not work well, and I think it depends on the mix, the person running it. It is very much at the formal end, I would say, of networking. But the upside of that is that sometimes you go to network meetings, like, we're just very relaxed, and you come out thinking, well, that's all very nice, but I didn't want to, I've got enough friends. I don't just want to go for a coffee with a load of people and come away with nothing. Do you know what I mean? It's like, that's so unfocused that it's like, well, what's the point? So it's kind of a bit of a It's nice.
I've been to a net. I can't say that I've been to a networking event for maybe over a decade, to be fair. They
Oh, really?
little
Wow.
bit more
Okay. Well,
advanced.
you're certainly not an over networker then.
Yeah.
Well, it's obviously doing well for you. Um, so look, it's been brilliant. Just a bit conscious of time, and I know you're a busy chap, as we've spoken about. So, two things. Firstly, you show me a cool gadget. I like my gadgets. So, show us your gadget that you
Yep.
bought.
So it is called a you know what it's called anyway, don't you? What's it? A
gimbal.
DJI OM4. A gimbal, yeah. So it's like a snazzy little stick. It
That
has
looks like really high quality. It looks like the sort of thing that would fire missiles off said, boat
yeah,
or ship.
and yeah, so all I need to do is get to grips with how all the controls work. You actually get an app on your phone,
Oh, okay.
and it records everything through the app. And then you can edit it as well in the app. So I'm gonna have a little go of it today, and I'll when I put the video up, Kevin, I'll tag you in the video for you.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah. Well, if it's any good, I'll get one. I need to get one of those at some point anyway. I do like a bit of a walk and talk down the country lanes. Like me waffling to myself.
Well, I actually got that one second hand off eBay. eBay for 60 quid, so it wasn't a massive outlay, and it's actually got a little tripod as well for the bottom of it, so you can do static videos. So if you just sat you can talk to the camera whilst you sat at your chair. And then the other thing that I've just ordered is, as you can see, there's a very sort of dirty warehouse in the background. I've just ordered a backdrop to be printed and stuff like that, just to give it a bit more of a professional look.
Yeah.
But video doesn't have to be expensive.
Oh, absolutely.
Everyone's got an iPhone these days. The cameras on those are just good. Get a little ring light, and that's all you really need to get going.
Absolutely. In fact, my trick I got off my wife, who does remote headshots. She said she gets her clients to get a can of beans, a hairband, stick the phone under the hairband, and there you've got a tripod. And that's actually often much better than a tripod. You can just stick it on a shelf somewhere, and you don't have all the legs sticking everywhere.
Yeah.
That's like the super simple, low tech.
I think the only other thing is that...
Have you experimented with drone photography or drone video around some of you? Because obviously you've got quite an impressive...
No, I haven't actually. No. It would be something pretty cool.
Yeah. So you could just get it to sort of go up and just stay there, or kind of, you could probably have a pre-planned sort of circular flight pattern that just go like, here's the center, just do a circle and video in around that or something. You've got a really good installation and everybody's enjoying themselves or something, and then it just comes back to you.
Just planted the seed there. I think what I'll do is I'll become a drone stalker now, as really. So and I'll do all my research, and then when it comes to winter time next year, I'll buy one, and then learn how to fly it. That's my new stalking thing. Just to touch on video, one last thing that I would say about video is, and I'm 100% certain that you'll agree with me on this, is work out a way to get captions on there. So if you're putting videos on LinkedIn, it's started doing it. They're a little bit sort of, most caption things don't understand me because I'm Scouse anyway. The Sky Glass doesn't even understand me. Do you know what I mean? The kids just laugh because random things come on. But yeah, get the captions on there. So there's other apps as well that you can do. You can get captions, because we all know that people who are employed and have the phones on at the desk can't have the sound on. So they like to watch video, or even on a train or anything like that. It's a little bit antisocial, isn't it?
Video is what I silently.
Yeah. So definitely worthwhile, because if you're just uploading without any captions, then you're going to miss those people, because they'll either not be able to watch it because there's somewhere that watching it that they shouldn't, or they don't want to be embarrassed by having the sound on if it's on a train or something like that.
Yeah. So do you have a favorite app or tool for doing that?
what did I? To be fair, I used to just do it in Premiere Pro myself.
So that's quite a high-end way.
When I was yeah. So that's a little like Premiere Pro. It's one of those things. If you're not trained on it, you have to watch a YouTube video.
It's a bit of a sledgehammer, isn't it? It's quite a beast.
Yeah.
And
the problem with Premiere Pro is if you don't. Yeah, the problem with Premiere Pro is if you're not using it constantly, day by day, if you use it, you'll get quite good at it. Pretty sort of, you'll get up to a certain level of skills with it. But then if you don't use it for 3 months, you'll go back to it and you'll be like, "Oh, how did I do that?" And so,
I usually advise people not to do that because their video editing is such a commoditized skill. I with my clients, I just recommend that they learn how to trim, and that is it. Anything more complicated than trimming, just get someone else to do it. It's so cheap to get that done anyway. My advice to captions.
Do you recommend?
Sorry, say again.
Oh, you were just about to answer the question.
Yes, I recommend you use captions. There's an app. I think it's only on iPhone, sadly, but for up to 1.5 minute videos, there's a caption app that called imaginatively Captions. I think it's about £5 a month, which is very good value for what it does, because it does two very cool things. One, it does those captions with that are quite funky that you see a lot on comedian, and they're not just boring captions. You can do all sorts of different funky captions.
Where they flash up. I wasn't being rude then. I just made a note of that.
There you go. Yeah, there's emojis. You can put in images and all sorts. And I did a little testimonial. We got a testimonial video in, and I edited it with that. Very easy to do. So that's pretty cool because it does the caption. You can edit them quite easily. The other really cool thing that does, it's got an AI feature, which say you are reading bullet points and you put it just below the camera or something, it'll actually adjust it so that instead of looking like you're looking there, it makes it look like you're looking at the camera afterwards. Like, how cool is that? That is just like super.
Yeah, that's
very good. But like, if you were really looking for it, you might occasionally think there's something not quite right about that. But it's like you'd have to be looking for it. Like 99% of people would not spot it. So, and I only spot it because I'm into video and I'm looking for it. But it's very, very convincing. It really looks like you're looking at the camera. So that is a big plus. It means you can cheat, look at your notes, and still have it fixed afterwards to look into the camera. So it's kind of, that's a really nice feature.
Yeah, that's exciting. That's
cool. So if if people want to find out more about the Party Tank Company, or where can they stalk you online? Iain, where's the best place?
We have a website where you can just download some free information from in the form of a information pack, which is a franchise prospectus. Just lets you know everything that we do and the costs and everything else. So that is at thepartytentcompany.com. So that's the franchise website. Alternatively, just some pretty friendly guy, drop me a DM, or just have a look at the videos in my featured section on LinkedIn, because I've got all my videos tagged up there as well, so you can just go and have a little look around and watch those in your own in your own time.
Brilliant. Okay, well I will have a look, and I'm looking forward to being tagged in your gimbal shot. And thank you so much.
I wonder. I bet you that on this. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well. Thanks so much for having me on, Kevin. Yeah. Really, really enjoyed that, and good luck with the next stage of your venture into franchising.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And thanks everyone for watching, and I will see you next time.